Hello, guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Skills and Abilities. Today we're going to be going over a rather odd skill for the assassin, and this is a skill known as Psychic Hammer. And for this reason, I'm going to chuck a little bit of points into mana so that I actually have some to show you how this skill works. Now, Psychic Hammer is a odd ability. It is maybe one of the worst abilities in the game, but it does have some very limited usefulness, and we're going to talk about the limited usefulness that it has. Psychic Hammer, basically what it does is it knocks back an enemy. When it knocks back an enemy, I'm not really quite sure how to put this. So you can't actually cast it unless there is an enemy present. So first let me go to a zone where there are no enemies present. So Cold Plains usually is pretty empty near the waypoint. If I don't have an enemy nearby, you actually cannot cast the skill. This is actually quite strange considering that similar skills like Mind Blast actually do allow you to cast the skill whether or not there's a monster there or not. So you can spam Mind Blast even if there's no one around to hit. However, with Psychic Hammer, it doesn't work that way. You literally cannot use the ability unless there is something nearby. This actually makes for some very odd interactions, which is it actually doesn't require a target to hit a monster. So you don't actually have to target a monster. And what this means is that you can use it for scouting. So as you can see here, if I put my right click on the edge of the map and I actually move around the map like this, it doesn't actually hit anything, right? So let me move forward a step and let me do the same thing again. So apparently there are monsters right here. Now that I'm actually within range of being able to hit the monsters, I can cast the ability. But there's no monsters here. There are monsters right here. And this Psychic Hammer actually becomes mildly useful in very odd scenarios, which is basically where you can utilize it to scout which direction the monsters are in by holding your cursor at the edge of the screen. It also knocks back monsters. So if you were to hold the mouse down like this, you'll notice that it interchanges between the monsters. The reason for this is that it always Psychic Hammers the closest monster to the point at which you are right-clicking. This means that they will never be able to reach me, not really, unless they get stuck in a knockback loop like that. So we can just go back and do this again. So every single time one of them becomes the closest, they get knocked back instead. Now, Psychic Hammer does have casting rate. So it is governed by FCR, and if we were to put on FCR equipment, which I don't even know if I have any FCR equipment, but let's see if I got a Hoto sitting in here. Yeah, we'll use the Hoto as a good one, because that's like 40% increased attack speed, or attack rate, right? And let's go ahead and use the Psychic Hammer now with our increased attack speed, or attack rate. As you can see, now I can reliably knock them far enough away until they get stuck on something, unfortunately. And this is the unfortunate side effect of knocking back targets, is that as you knock them back, they can eventually hit something, like another ally, for instance. And if they stack up on you enough, there's absolutely no way to continue to knock back the targets. So it's just kind of meh. The amount of damage that it does is also pretty pathetic. As you can see, even at level 30 right now, we are looking at, what, 53 to 69 damage and 53 to 69 magic damage. Also, the mana cost continues to rise with level, as if to say, you know, hey, you know, you're getting a good deal here. We got to charge you more, you know. We got to charge you more. But the problem is that the only thing that really goes up, because the damage doesn't really go up at all, the only thing that really goes up is the knockback chance. So any monster that is a regular monster will always be knocked back by the ability. However, when you find a champion, champions are not always knocked back by the ability. Champions, elites, and so forth, they don't always get knocked back, but the higher level the skill is, the better the chance that you will knock back an elite. Personally, I just don't really find this ability to be as amazing as it probably should be. For a scouting tool, maybe in hardcore, I can see it as kind of interesting because you'll know exactly where the monsters are. As you can see here, I can just simply figure out where the monsters are by utilizing Psychic Hammer. And I think that might be, honestly, the main use of Psychic Hammer is just literally just scouting the edges of the screen to figure out where the monster packs are. Because you can basically do just that. Is you can just kind of use it to scout the edges of the screen. And as you can clearly see, the monsters don't even come attacking when you utilize the ability. So even after you hit something at the edges of the screen, they don't really do anything. They don't really come to you or anything. Now, one thing that Psychic Hammer can reliably do is basically lock a target up against the wall. So if you do only have one target, there is some interesting ways that Psychic Hammer can be utilized. Let me see if I can show you this in a more isolated situation. So basically what we need is we need one monster. This would usually be an elite or something like that that is, a pain in the butt, so to speak. And we might have like Wake of Fire as our main ability. Or maybe we have Wake of Inferno. It really doesn't matter. But basically what we're going to do is we're actually just going to lock a target up against the wall. Then I'm going to cast my traps like this. And we're just going to lock them there against the wall while our traps do our thing. For one target, you actually can reliably trap them up against the wall. Now, the main problem with this, though, is, of course, just the infinite mana that was required to actually utilize an 11.2 mana skill. But the thing is you don't actually have to throw maximum mana into the skill, or maximum points into the skill. So if we were to just do a respec here real quick, just so I can put on my equipment again. Let's go ahead and grab a little bit more mana, and throw that in there. So let's just put 1 point in there this time, instead of the other. Now it's at 6.5 mana. Not anywhere near as bad, right? So if you just 1 point it, and that's really all you're ever going to do to it, it's a little bit easier to use. As you can see, though, with large groups of monsters, it does not work as well as it should. But you can reliably hold a choke point like this. So this is a doorway, and I'm just basically holding the choke point of the doorway. It's an oddity. It definitely is an oddity in the Diablo 2 verse, I feel like. I'm not exactly sure what they were thinking with Psychic Hammer, other than I guess they needed a psychic ability to prerequisite Cloak of Shadows and Mind Blast, which were going to be their other psychic abilities, right? So they wanted to have 3 psychic abilities. They wanted to have something that would be the baby psychic ability, and Psychic Hammer was basically just chosen as the odd man out. I mean, in general, the damage probably could be beefed up considerably on this particular skill, and it still wouldn't have, like, the most amazing effects. They could maybe even put a synergy in between Psychic Hammer, Cloak of Shadows, and Mind Blast. I certainly wouldn't see anything wrong with that if they wanted to make it so that, like, putting points in Psychic Hammer increased the damage of Mind Blast or something. All in all, though, it's just one of those skills that you just kind of ignore. You put 1 point into it. You might utilize it to scout the end of the screen. Maybe you utilize it to lock down one particular monster at some particular point. But for the most part, it's one of those skills that you just kind of ignore. And yeah, exactly. Anyway, as always, I do appreciate you guys watching my videos, even when we're just talking about Psychic Hammer. And as always, keep watching.